Christmas Cheers is the 12th episode of the 6th season of Cheers. This is directed by James Burrows and Thomas Lofaro. And as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And as is usually the case with Cheers, it's a fabulous episode. There's one thing about it that I wish had been done slightly differently, but we also get a lot of comedy out of it. But it's actually the very last thing, so I'll talk about that when we get there. But aside from that, it is pretty perfect. It actually starts off with a shot of the Cheers sign, all snowy, very clearly establishing the time of year. And then we're watching It's a Wonderful Life in the bar, and everybody gets all emotional. And it's a beautiful way to start things off. Cliff then comes in. Cheers is beautifully decorated for Christmas, and Cheers puts up this box. The postal carriers are collecting canned food for the canned food drive, and whoever collects the most gets a free trip to Disney World. And Rebecca then comes in from the company Christmas party. Love her outfit. I love all of her outfits in this episode, but that dress in particular was gorgeous. And she then reveals that they're actually having to work Christmas Eve, but she will pay them time and a half, which is not so bad. Everybody else seems perfectly fine with that. Carla's response when Sam asked her if she'd rather be at home with her kids was just fabulous. But Sam's not very happy about it. We then cut to Christmas Eve, and Woody comes in all excited. It's generally a very high energy episode, and Woody's all excited because the reviews are in for the latest show that he's doing. It's a play called The Story of Snow. And then he phones his mother and he gets a little bit emotional because he's not at home for Christmas this year. And then somebody comes in wearing a Santa hat, and he walks around the bar, and then all we hear him say is, "Hey Peterson, you're late again." And he hands Norm the Santa suit. Norm is playing a Santa. And he says where he's working, and Carla realises that her children went to see Norm as Santa because her child had said, "Santa smells like the place where mommy works." I love that. I absolutely love that. I mean, not for the children. I don't think you want your department store or mall Santa smelling like beer, but for the context of the episode, really thoroughly enjoyed it. Woody is still on the phone, and the bar is otherwise empty, apart from one customer. This is Al. I like the fact that the one customer was Al, and Woody, Sam, and Carla are exchanging gifts. Woody and Carla got something for Rebecca. Sam didn't. So he dashes out to try and find a store that's open late at night on Christmas Eve. Good luck with that, Sam. And Carla tries to get Al to leave, and then Al says he's waiting for some friends, and in comes a whole herd of other people, so it's not exactly time to shut up shop yet. Frazier and Lilith then come in a little later on, and they're quite happy. Frazier's not necessarily in the spirit of things as much as Lilith is, but Lilith's really positive and absolutely gorgeous as well. And then Cliff comes in. He's upset about the can drive because he didn't win by one can. But then Woody gives him 2 cans. And those cans were in the bar when the box was still there. I don't know what the rules are, but apparently that means that Cliff can actually count them towards his total, even though it's after 4 p.m. So off he runs to try and win this trip to Disney World because 2 cans would make him 1 ahead. And that's actually the last we see of Cliff in this episode. Now we'll come back to that towards the end because I'm not happy with that decision, but we do get some comedy. But I'll elaborate on that when we get there. Sam is then outside in the snow, beautiful wintry scene. None of the stores are open, obviously. And then he's sitting on the ground and somebody approaches him. And I have to say the camera angle when we first see her face, she's beautifully lit up, absolutely gorgeous. She does look like an angel. However, I wish they'd chosen somebody who looked a little less like Diane. She's not a carbon copy of Diane. But when we first see her, it was like I was looking at Diane. And they're not identical, but I just wish they'd gone for somebody who maybe had a slightly different face shape and a slightly different hairstyle, because it was a little bit jarring. It also made me a little bit emotional because this is the first Christmas without Diane, which is not great. But other than that, the character was brilliant. She finds out that Sam is trying to find a present for his boss, and she very kindly offers Sam one of the gifts. And we're then back at Cheers. Norm comes in, dressed as Santa. They missed an opportunity here. I was so devastated, and I'm exaggerating. It's not that bad. But Norm comes in, says, "Evening, everybody," and everybody says Norm. But he's dressed as Santa. And I really wish they'd shouted Santa instead. They really missed an opportunity there. I love the look of his outfit, though. He looks absolutely fantastic. If you've never seen the film Merry In-Laws, watch it. This is George Wendt and Shelley Long, and they play Mr. and Mrs. Claus. So it's not the last time we see George Wendt as Santa, but also George Wendt with Shelley Long. It was released in 2012, and it's absolutely fantastic. Just as an aside, if you're liking George Wendt as Santa, definitely check out that film. Plus Shelley Long, just absolute perfection. Back to Cheers. Sam then comes in with the woman from before, and then Rebecca is handing out gifts to everybody. She got them gifts with the corporate logo, which is not necessarily what anybody wants, but the thought was there. And she seems so excited as well. She seems so happy with her choices. So I think her heart was definitely in the right place. Sam then gives her the gift that the woman who kind of looks like Diane very kindly offered him. And Rebecca opens the gifts. I miss Diane so much. Rebecca opens the gift and they're diamond earrings. And we realise immediately from Sam's reaction that that's not the gift he thought he was giving her. And when he looks back at the woman, she also, we can tell from her facial expression, she's also surprised that that was the gift. And it turns out they're $500 diamond earrings. And Rebecca tries to give them back to Sam because she thinks they're too expensive. It's not an appropriate gift. And Sam says, "I wouldn't have gifted them to you if I didn't want you to have them." And then it kind of backfires because she ends up keeping them and Sam has to write a check for $500. So that was a bit awkward for Sam, but he's making his peace with it because she's invited him over to her apartment for a late supper, which seems very suggestive, but we'll come back to that in a little bit. The Santas are then getting ready to leave and they hear sleigh bells. They think one of them was the real Santa. And then the magic is broken when the Santa comes back in and says that he needs help with his station wagon. But for a moment there, it seemed like it could have been the real Santa Claus. And we have this adorable moment with Frazier and Lilith where Lilith calls Frazier Snowball. That's the cutest nickname ever. And Frazier says, "For half a second there, I actually believed in Christmas." And it was so beautiful. And then he's kind of got this new zest for the festive season and rushes over to the piano and starts playing Christmas carols. And then Carla breaks it to Sam that they've all been invited back to Rebecca's. It's not the romantic Christmas Eve evening that Sam thought it was. So Sam's not exactly overjoyed by that, especially since it cost him $500. And then It's a Wonderful Life is on television again. And we do get a bit of comedy, but this is the bit that I enjoyed it, but it kind of ruined what otherwise would have been an exceptionally perfect final moment because everybody is gathered together looking up at the television, watching It's a Wonderful Life. It's beautifully shot. And then we have the news broadcast and the news broadcaster says, and I quote, "Boston Airport has been temporarily closed due to the presence of a berserk man on runway 6 chasing an Orlando-bound plane and throwing what appears to be cans of Chinese food." And Norm very quickly acknowledges that that's Cliff. And that's why this ending isn't perfect, because they're all there, one big happy family, singing along. Some of them are singing along to Auld Lang Syne, and I get very emotional with that song. It's a very emotional scene, but Cliff's not there. And yes, I did laugh at the broadcast. I did find it funny, but he's missing from that final scene, and I don't love that. I wish he'd been there. I know it's not a final episode or anything. He's going to be in the next episode and every episode thereafter, but it was such a perfect moment, but it was tainted by the absence of Cliff. So yeah, we got some comedy there right at the end, but I definitely think that Cliff should have been in the bar instead. But nevertheless, it's an otherwise beautiful episode, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. The holiday episodes of Cheers are always an absolute delight, and it doesn't surprise me for 1 second that Christmas Cheers is no exception to that. It is really, really beautiful and rather emotional, definitely funny, quite a lot of variety in what's going on, and ultimately, I can't really fault it.